Hey everybody, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is Heather. Hi Heather.
Hey Becky.
And Jenny. Hey Jenny.
Hey Becky.
Sorry YouTube for hearing my dogs bark. They're adorable. It's June, you guys.
Yay.
Look,
mine.
Look at you.
I have mine on too.
And I wore mine yesterday. It was Pride here in Findlay, so I didn't
Awesome.
I didn't wear mine. Heather, how many days till knockout?
Oh boy, geez Louise.
Which
you gotta
countdown?
give a girl some notice here. My goodness. 26 days, 13 hours, 56 minutes. There you go.
There we go. That's what we got. People are getting excited. I'm making piles of books to take with me. So many piles.
I got some wrapping, and I'm gonna bring some like blind date with a book, and I'm gonna like hand them to people.
Yeah.
Because girls got a lot of books that I don't actually need. So look for me.
There, I believe Amanda and I have a similar plan of hiding books in the hotel. So, anyway, everybody have a good weekend so far. Like I said, we had Pride here in Findlay, so it was a fun, busy weekend.
I stayed up way too late.
It was somewhat nice here, so that's good.
Yeah.
Finally gonna get our pool going, so that's good.
There you go. Yeah, Jenny, I got a random text message said 4 a.m.
Yes, I was hanging out with some friends. We had a freedom party. Her divorce was final, and I was driving home in the middle of the night. So
Fun. FYI, I did some upgrades to the deck this weekend.
Ooh.
I bought a new outdoor rug from the Aldi Isle of Shame. Just so we all know, I live in the Aldi Isle of Shame.
That Facebook group is amazing too, by the way. If you've never joined it, do it. It's for
I
fun.
bought the Connect 4. I have the Yard Jenga. I have we bought cornhole this weekend. Anyway,
Nice.
Fun.
like they all come in like their own little carrying case. It's fancy. For like $30.
I saw skee ball I got an ad this weekend for Facebook, like an old school skee ball. And I'm like, I think I need this. I'm gonna have a grad party next year. I think I need that.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be really fun. Okay, so we are up to our term of the week, and this plays into a little bit of what we are talking about today in our episode. This week, term of the week is we had some questions about what does it mean when we see in a book listing MMF versus MFM. So if we are talking about MMF, this is a male-male-female romance. These stories involve 3 characters, typically 2 men and 1 woman, and the men are romantically and or sexually involved with each other, creating a fully connected triad. So they are all together. Swords, they are crossing.
It would be like sometimes it would be male male, sometimes it would be male female, and then sometimes it would be all 3.
Right.
Just to kind of
Yeah. And our recent episode Karis that we did where we kind of talked about that is a male female romance, and in that pairing we saw the men together, one of the men with the female, and then all 3 of them together. So, and then when we talk male female male romances, these are in stories that involve 3 characters, typically 2 men and 1 woman. However, in MFM romances, the men are not romantically or sexually involved with each other. Their romantic and or sexual focus is solely on the woman, creating a V-shape relationship. So,
one of our favorite authors dropped that she's writing a new male-female romance series set in Alaska.
wait, who did that? What did
Kennedy L. Mitchell.
Oh, fun.
Super excited.
Fun. And we have Mary Carr writes a lot of male, female, male. She also writes a lot of male, male, female. You can also see female, female, male pairings. Polyamorous, you would see sometimes maybe it's male, female, male, male, male. And if the male is off on his own, typically that means that that male is not necessarily going to cross swords. He is not. And we don't, not always in polyamorous relationships do we see every male crossing swords. So
Correct.
that's what we got on that. So today's episode, we are celebrating Pride Month with some of our favorite LGBTQIA romances. We are to share the incredible love stories that reflect the diversity and beauty of the LGBTQIA community. From heartwarming tales to passionate romances, we believe these stories deserve to be celebrated not just this month, but we want you to read these books year-round. So join us as we highlight these books that inspire, empower, and celebrate love in all its form. Let's dive into these amazing reads and celebrate Pride all year. But I have a little bit of a caveat.
Yes.
This episode is outside my wheelhouse. While I am very much a straight white woman, I do not... So I do read these books. Like I have all these books that I have read, many I've reviewed, but these are not it's not that they're not my comfort zone. I don't want to cause damage to an already community that's under attack, right? So I want to make sure that in this episode that we are doing it justice and that we are sharing how amazing these stories are, but also trying to avoid some of the pitfalls that we tend to see quite often this month. So a couple things. As I was prepping for this episode, I went over to Threads, which is the new Twitter, and it can be like a little bit of a toxic junk hole, just so we're all clear.
Yeah, it's a little rough over there.
It is. I feel like, we are in the Wild West without guns sometimes over there. But
People don't hold back over there.
They do not. And the hot takes, like I got eviscerated for saying I don't think epilogues are necessary. Anyway, it's fine. But I did do some research and I did talk to a couple of authors who are out and queer and write queer romances. So I wanted to make sure that we hit these things before we get into all of our discussion and our book recs. So one of the things is the reminder, you should be reading queer all year, not just in June. It's fine to highlight it in June, but you guys, these stories are out there all the time. You don't have to just wait for June to read them. One of the things that is respectful to do, it is not our job to out an author. It's fine to want to feature queer authors and own voice books, but it is not up to us to determine if they are queer or not. Not our job.
No, absolutely not.
And we want to make sure when we are featuring queer authors to make sure that you are providing a diverse list of pride. Pride does not equal whiteness. Oftentimes we'll see these book stacks, the rainbow book stacks that come out every June. And sometimes none of the books are queer. It's just a rainbow. Other times it is all white authors. We're all very specific, maybe males romances. So, remember queerness.
The rainbow, it's all different colors.
Yes, it's made up of very different voices and very different people. And it is also important to make sure that we are cognizant of our privilege in checking it at the door and make sure we're reading BIPOC and Asian Pacific Islander and Latinx authors. The last thing, and this is apparently going to be the big thing this year, just so we're all clear. Bi romances can look like heteronorm relationships and still be bi and still be sapphic. So let's make sure that we are very clear on that and respect everybody no matter what. The other thing, in order to not misgender anybody, all authors will be referred to as they, them for this episode, unless we know specifically.
Unless they're very clear about their pronouns.
I don't want to mess up.
I know.
That's fair. That's
Okay, so now that we've gotten my PSA out of the way, let's talk about diversity and representation and all the different letters, because there's quite a few.
There's a lot.
And you can be more than one letter.
yes, you can.
You can.
Okay. So the importance of a diverse narrative, there is significant to having diverse stories in all of our books. So you read queer. If you are going to say, I love LGBTQIA romances, that means you read the whole gamut and not just one.
One.
And so we see that a lot, right? We see that a lot, that people specifically talk one. So when we're talking representation, do you have, do you have criterias that you go through when you pick your reads? Or are you just looking for tropes, just like you do? So for me, I'm just looking at tropes in my normal books. I'm not specifically looking.
I'm in a few like LGBTQ plus like Facebook groups where book recs are made, and somebody will be like, oh, you know how you see like something on TikTok and it's like this like text thread or something like that, and somebody's like, I need this, but an LGBTQ. And then people like load their recs up and I'm like, oh, yes, please. And so then I screenshot and then I just go through my screenshots and then I grab a book.
Yeah. How do you go through and pick these books, Jenny? Just whatever.
Yeah, it's usually like tropes I like. The blurb sounds interesting. I usually will check the reviews more often for an LGBTQIA book because I want to make sure it has like an authentic voice sound, like it seems true to life. Doesn't have like some kind of like character
Well, and that's another
to it.
thing. We all have read those romance books where there's the gay best friend who
Right.
is so stereotypically Jack from Will and Grace. And not every gay best friend is like that.
No.
I have two gay best friends. One is pretty close to that. The other one is not. He's more like, okay, guys, relax. He's a little bit more like, well. So it's really like the bad books are out there.
Yes, they are.
I would say I DNF for just put down more LGBTQ plus IA books than anything. Like if I feel like it's not representing the community well, I'm done. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. Like if it feels, and you know, with one of the things that was being talked about over in threads about bisexual romances being that can be hetero presenting, I guess I never really thought about it, but when I went looking today and I typed in bi romances, the majority of what I got were male with bi awakening.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
And that's really frustrating because not every bisexual's relationship looks like that.
Right.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I just like, I don't know. I never really thought about it. And again, I am speaking from my little place of privilege. But I am doing better because, as you all know, I'm now editing for somebody who writes queer romances, and it's different. I have to buy sex Barbies, you guys. Like, because I don't know anyway. But I also have an out queer child, and it's important that I get things right.
My sister-in-laws are lesbians and they're both avid readers. And so they always like, oh, I need some book recs. And so the three of us have really tried to find some sapphic romance. And I will say, I'm not saying it's not out there, but I had a hard time finding indie authors. Like I found a few that I would say there's probably more I feel like that are trad pubbed.
I would agree.
I would
Yeah.
agree. The majority of the sapphic romances that I read are traditionally published female romances.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find a couple in my list. Um, I actually went down a whole little rabbit hole. She has 3 books. Um, it's Allie McDermid, Mcdermid. And if you read the book Kilt Trip, which was like Scottish charm and just funny, I read Love Charade. It was the most charming Scottish, like just adorable sweetness. But it was spicy. It did have spice. I promise it had
Mm.
spice. But so that's another thing. Like, we've had the discussion before about how trad pub books tend to have a little lower spice, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Yeah.
see them, they're not as spicy. So if the majority of lesbian sapphic female romances that we're reading, or bi female sapphic romances that we're reading, are coming out of traditional publishing, they inherently are going to have a lower spice level.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
because that's an argument that we'll hear, is that sapphic is not as spicy as male. But I think that there are more indie male authors than there are female. So I think it's up to us to do better at digging and finding them. Because like we all said, we did the work this time, you guys, to come up with this
Yes.
list.
Dove deep. I did find a sapphic romance author. I read, it's called Dollface, and it's by Shannon O'Connor. Shannon has a giant backlist, and
Nice.
a lot of them are on Kobo Plus. There's a super cute series it's called Seasons of Seaside, and so there's a whole bunch of different tropes. They are illustrated covers. Some of them have faces and some don't. So but they're super cute. Like summer fake relationship, and they're all on Kobo. So they look very promising, and I downloaded a whole bunch.
There were a couple of sapphic romances in Serena Bowen's Venus and Veritas series. I read Flip Cup. It was pretty spicy. But again, it was a slower burn.
Yes.
And I think the majority of those in that Venus and Veritas were slower burns.
They were. I would say yes. I've read pretty much all of them. So
Yeah.
I would say yeah.
I think I read one by Garrett Lee, and that one was pretty stinking spicy, and it spiced but like 14%. But they're also not very long books either. So again, avoid the holes, the pitfalls.
Yes.
One of the things Heather and I were talking about before we started was we oftentimes, when categorizing these books and shelving them on Goodreads, we just dump them on an LGBTQIA shelf.
Yeah.
We
I'm
don't
gonna stop doing that.
I'm going to stop doing that. We put them on the other shelves with tropes and stuff like that, but we don't break them down to like sapphic.
Right. And well, like you mentioned before, it's sometimes you can be more than one letter, right?
Right.
So like I'm a demi bisexual person, but like I'm in a hetero presenting relationship. So like how do I label myself? Like
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And again, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Right.
So I often when I'm reading books, I will if they talk about, oh, I'm pansexual, even though I know what it is, I still look up the term just because I want to make sure that I'm wrapping my head around what this character is really telling readers.
Yeah. So do you think that there are certain tropes or themes that we often see in these all tropes are covered in LGBTQIA romances. Garrett Lee has a motorcycle club. We have seen it in Mafia. So all subgenres, all tropes get covered. But do you think there are some common ones that we see more often? I think childhood friends to lovers. has got to be the
Oh
most
yes.
common one.
Yeah,
I
friends
that
to lovers. Yeah.
I also think found family,
That was gonna be my
Yeah.
which I love found family because I think if you come from a dysfunctional family, like it doesn't matter. Like if you come from a dysfunctional family or a small family, you need your people. And so you kind of build that world and create your people.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Um
well, like with the found family, I think a lot of LGBTQIA books can have a piece of like their sexuality was the catalyst for the disconnect from their blood family.
mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's part of the angst in the book. It's part of the struggle of finding your people.
Mhm.
Well, and it's the acceptance too, right? Like
Yes.
Right.
we often don't get the acceptance in your home, so you have to find that acceptance out in different communities.
Right. You have to get your support system and find that group of people who will be there
Yeah,
to have your back.
for sure. So, okay. So we wanted to come up with before we get into our list, because we are going to try to cover the rainbow as
Uh-huh.
best as the three of us can.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any notable LGBTQIA authors? And what I mean by this is authors that write queer romances that are your go-to authors. I'm not asking you to out them. I'm just saying, are there any of them that you're like, if they write a book, I'm going to read it?
I have so many.
Well, tell us. Tell us, who are they, Heather?
Okay. Well, I'm afraid I'll steal all of yours, so I'm just gonna
You
say
can
like
steal all of mine.
Max Walker,
Absolutely,
love,
100%.
love. AJ Truman, love him. Saxon James, no secret to anyone. Kelly Fox, Eden Finley, Nora Phoenix, E.M. Lindsay has recently become a favorite of mine.
What about you, Jenny? Do you have any go-to authors for your queer romances?
Um, Allison Cochran, she's trad pub. She doesn't put books out very often, but she just does a really good job of representing authentically. Kelly Fox is a new one, thanks to Heather. Um,
You're welcome.
I appreciate it very much. Um, M.A. Wardell, he writes gay romance, and I don't know, something about them are just like magical.
Fair, fair. Ashley Herring Blake. She is one. She's a trad pub author. I really do like her books. I started with Delilah Green Doesn't Care.
Oh yes.
And it's interesting. Her own story is very interesting because she is an out bisexual, polyamorous author. And she is out and she talks very openly about her lifestyle and what they choose to do and how they live. And I find it fascinating because how she weaves it into the stories. It feels really authentic. Anita Kelly is one. If she writes it, I will go over and read it. And again, Shannon Elliott is an author that I am working with, and all of her books are queer, often polyamorous, and on the kinky side. 1,000% on the kinky side. I actually, after you guys were all here at the beginning of May, Jenny, Sydney made me message Shannon and ask her for a scissor, a crafty,
Scissors. Yes.
a crafty romance. I read crafty romance sticker.
Yeah,
So,
it's great.
she's like, I really need that sticker. I'm like, I'll ask Shannon to make that for you. Um, so, and Roan Parrish, I would say Roan is one. Roan was one of, I mean, I'd read polyamorous, so I had read the male male females, the male female male romances because Kelly Jameson has written a bunch, Mary Carr had written a bunch, but I would say that Roan really started me down the road of queer. She often was published under Karina Adores, which is their LGBTQIA line through Harlequin. So all the books in Karina Adores are queer titles. And so Roan has a book called Better Than People. and then Best Laid Plans. And if you haven't read them and you want emotional mail, 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, so we're going to kind of break down, now that we have those, we're going to kind of break down a couple book recs from each subsection. We did not hit them all, again, because we're not very good at shelving, or I'm going to be honest, I'm not very good at identifying things. Like, I had to have a conversation with Mariah Inkeman about, pansexuality and like, what am I looking for? How to identify this in a book? And she's like, you don't. You really, you don't.
Yeah, I would say that like pansexual and bisexual, especially when you're reading like a like in my brain, everything's three-dimensional, right? But like when you're reading a two-dimensional character off of a page, you're definitely influenced by your own
Yeah.
own perception of them. So it's pan and bi are really hard to distinguish, like unless, like Heather said, they like
Very specifically
identified
say it.
themselves. Yeah.
Jenni, you're getting all the loves in the comment section. Just so you know. Someone dropped in and just wanted to say you guys are beautiful, but that Jenni, gorgeous. Something about her.
Yeah.
It's also your wedding anniversary today, right?
It is 17 years today.
Happy wedding
Happy
anniversary.
anniversary.
That's exciting. Okay, so we're back. Gail, we went on a side quest. We're off the side quest. Now we're back. Main storyline. Okay, gay romances. So these are going to be identified as male presenting male loving male romances. Some of these might have a bit of a bi aspect in them and could cover some of the others, but when recommending these books, we're talking about two main characters that are male presenting. Okay, yes. Correct? Did I get all that right? Jenni, you really should have just led this episode. Okay, so give me a couple of book recs. Who you got? What do you got first? If somebody's never read Mail, where should they start?
Oh,
well, like my first like male romance was #Junkie by Cambria Herbert. Like I don't, this is gonna sound bad, but it like gave me the permission to read male.
Sure.
And it's a spinoff from her #series, so it's kind of like two characters you already know and love from that.
Okay.
And it's one of her more popular couples, so.
Okay. Who do you got?
I think if you've never read male romance, I would choose either Single Dad's Club from A.J. Truman or Stonewall. And like, if you like suspense, I would go Stonewall Investigations with Max Walker.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a found family, some suspense, and like all male. The Single Dad's Club is a little bit more, I don't want to say rom-commy, but
no,
like,
it is rom-commy.
I mean, they're like these cute, like these dads, they're single dads and they live in a small town, and they're not all of them are dads though.
Kay Webster and Misty Walker have a series that I think is a really great place
for sure
to start too. Like if you're looking, and again, they're male presenting male loving male.
That was Briggs Ferry Bay is the Kay Webster and Misty Walker
ones. Okay, so you and I read his first book last spring. Sydney Carger has a new book out called The Bump. It is a road trip of two dads with their surrogate across country trip. It's adorable. It's adorable.
I haven't read it. I'm excited for that.
It's so fun. And
how pregnant is their surrogate on the road trip?
Pretty pregnant.
Oh,
pretty pregnant.
Okay.
How uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Right. But it's an adorable read, and Sydney is just the sweetest.
Very nice. He was great. Really liked him.
I have a debut author, Frederick Smith. He has a new book coming out June the 11th called One and Done. And it has an illustrated cover, and they have faces, I believe.
Nice.
I think. He is also a BIPOC author, so it is male, men of color, which I'm very excited to read that one. Adriana Herrera in her Dreamer series has a couple of male romances. And then, okay, did you read C. Travis Rice before we went to Readers on the River, Jenny?
Yeah.
So he has his Sapphire Cove series.
Yes.
That's good.
It
I
is.
like that
Mm.
series.
That series is pretty spicy too. He's also hilarious.
He is.
Yeah. I recently read the Words We Never Said series by E.M. Lindsay. It's male,
Uh-huh.
male. There's some really great disability rep in there. One of the characters is an amputee, and it's not a war. Like it isn't a veteran.
Okay.
There is also deaf characters in their series. It's
Nice.
really good.
Okay. So let's move on to our lesbian or sapphic romances. I have so many, but actually, so if you have Kindle Unlimited and are like audiobooks, Stars Collide by Rachel Lacey is a read and listen on KU. It is probably a 1.5 to 2 chili pepper in the spice. But it was very, very good. I will say it was a really great story, and I do recommend it. What do you got for sapphic lesbians over there, Heather?
The only ones that the ones that the flip cup I've read, that Doll Face by Shannon Connor, that was pretty spicy. That was one of the more spicy ones. And like it was a pretty quick read. I
Okay.
liked it.
What do you got, Jenny?
Not just Gal Pals by Elizabeth Lulu. The like one main character is an influencer and kind of makes a like post and needs to lie low and realizes like that someone she thought was a meanie in high school, a very attractive lumberjane,
Okay. I
and they
think,
have to plan a bachelorette party together. So it's lower steam, but it's also low angst. It's kind of like a mac and cheese read.
yeah. Who was the author on that one?
Elizabeth Luly? Luly.
Okay. Because Rachel Reed has a couple that sound similar to that. She has, I guess that one's not it, but she has a couple that are kind of like that. Like, and it's not Rachel Reed, but somebody else has. I'll have to look up the title. I read it at Christmas time. They end up having to work the small town Christmas tree lot. Like they both come home for the holidays and they both get cornered into taking care of the hometown Christmas tree. And these two women do not get along. Like they were pure, like, I have to look up the title because, see, again, because I just dump it in queer. I don't pay attention. I actually have quite a few lesbians.
The Not So Gal Pals is actually a small town. It's Sapphire Springs, and they are in Kindle Unlimited, friends.
Okay. Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding by Chinsia C. Higgins. The audio on that is spectacular. Alyssa Cole has quite a few sapphic romances. Once Ghosted, Twice Shy is one I've read by her. And then the girl child read Alexandria Belfleur's Written in the Stars, and it was very emotional. So those were ones. And then we do have books like Madam by Sarah Kate, Bound by Shannon Elliott that are female, male. And I think Kristen Granada has one that's female, male.
There's a book coming out June 11th. Must be a popular date.
It's the big trad pub date, yeah.
So there, it's called Everyone I Kissed Since You Got Famous.
Don't. That's my book of the week. Shh, it's my book of the week. It's okay.
but it looks really good. I have not read it.
Okay, I'll talk about it in the book of the week, you guys, because
Okay, sounds
I have
good.
such big feels on that book right now. Okay, let's go to bisexual romances. These can be male, female presenting love. It can be women loving women, men loving men. One of the pit holes in this can be if you are reading bisexual romances and you're only looking for male, male, and it's a bi awakening and it's that kind of gay for you vibe. That can have some ick factor in it.
Yeah.
So be
Yeah.
be thoughtful. Jenni, give us some bisexual book recs
Okay, so On the Ropes by Catherine Nolan. She is our book author this month for book club.
for July. Yes.
July, yes. And that's Dean and Tabitha. So this is, as you were saying, Tabitha is bisexual, but they have a heterosexual presenting relationship. And Catherine's very open about like that's her story too. Like she is a bisexual in a hetero presenting relationship. So I would label this book as like a spicy mac and cheese. Like it's definitely got the spice, but there's not a whole lot of angst. And it is a friends to lovers, neighbors. He's a
She
former boxer.
and she has a new male coming out later this in June.
June 5th. It's called Free Fall. Bodyguard romance.
I mean, who doesn't love all that? Okay, what else you got, Jenni, for bisexuals?
Kiss Her Once for Me by Allison Cochran. This has a demisexual rep as well, which we don't see very often, or it's just kind of hard to distinguish if it's not spelled out. Um, and it's a very interesting read. I've talked about it before. They kind of meet and have a connection, and then the one main character is fake dating her brother and ends up at the holidays and is like, "Oh, hi, I think I know you."
Awkward.
Yep.
Awkward. Awkward. Let's see here. Okay, we would be amiss or remiss if we didn't mention Against the Boards by Danica Flynn. That is a female bisexual heroine and a male. The Chase by Danica Flynn, it's the male is bisexual in that book. Trapped in Love by Danica. They are both, I believe.
I think so too.
I think everybody, that one might even be Pan. I don't know. Danica will tell me if I'm wrong. Splintered by Isabel Lacerio is a male. Our upcoming Sip and Discuss, I would say, is they're both bisexual, right? No, the
No.
one is very clearly gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lights, camera, right?
Lights, camera, passion.
Like passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one is bi and one is gay.
Gay.
Correct.
Hot and Heavy by Mary Carr is male, female. Okay, this one is bisexual, female. And I read this book, and it is the most chaotic bisexual representation I have ever read. Knit, Pearl, A Baby and a Girl by Hetty Bell. It is not super spicy. Probably a two on the chili pepper. But it is chaotic. It is so chaotic. But it was a good read. Absolutely recommend it. Okay, so that's what I have for bisexual.
I have a couple.
Okay, what you got?
I got a female, male. It's called Mafia Toy. It's by Amelia Rose. It's in Kobo Plus.
Okay.
Very, very spicy. He's like a mafia boss, and his wife wants to add a third person, and so they opt for a female. There's some BDSM. It's very good. One of my favorite male females is called it's called The Escort's Tale by MJ Edwards. It was a long time ago recommended in book club, and it is about a couple. He is a paraplegic, and they hire a sex worker to kind of help aid them in their sexual life. And it is super emotional and so good. The Dare Menage series by Jeannie St. James is very good.
Okay.
And the audios are amazing, and they're very like mixed race. Like it's so good. They're so good. And it's not they're all male, female, and they aren't, it isn't like by like they're done really well.
Okay. Okay, so I think that covers us for bisexual. What about pansexual? This was a little harder to come up with.
I have a couple.
Okay, what you got, Heather?
Foolish Puck Boy by Eden Finley and Saxon James. It's part of their Puck Boy series. He recently is divorced, and he just sort of isn't sure like what he was, and so he was trying to figure out, like he went on this self-discovery and kind of figured out that he is pansexual. Another one is actually by the same author pair. So it's Face Offs and Cheap Shots by Eden Finley and Saxon James. It's part of their CU hockey series. And one of the main characters has just never, like, every relationship that he has been in has always felt forced. And so all of his girlfriends are like, well, I think you're gay. I think you're gay. And he kind of goes on this self-discovery journey, and it is so good and emotional and very well done, I thought.
Okay. I have Falling for You by Mariah Ankerman. It is sapphic by pansexual. It also has, I believe, chronic illness rep in that one specific. She's an aerialist, and they fall in love. So, okay, so another one that's a little bit more of a challenge.
I have one.
Oh, you have one. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
What you got?
For Never and Always by Helena Greer. He's pansexual, and they were best friends, and now kind of like enemies, don't talk to me,
Okay.
and have to work together.
She's my go-to author for non-binary. Because she does, my very first non-binary romance that I read was her Christmas book from last year called Season of Love. And it was really good. It's that lumberjack, like lumberjill, lumber person.
There we go.
So non-binary book recs, I think, is another one, kind of like pansexual. It's a little harder to find them. You really have to be paying attention.
I dug through, and I don't have any.
And I don't think you're alone.
Yeah, because I only had one, and I think it's on Becky's list as well. It can be difficult because I don't write fiction, but I would think it would be difficult to write that on a page too, like describing.
Yeah. But
sure.
Again, okay, so there was a thread earlier today about someone that said they write middle grade fiction, and in it they took a lot of criticism because they had a non-binary student in their middle grade fiction. And another author commented and said, "Thank you. I have a child that is non-binary. Didn't feel they fit into a boy, category or a girl category, and seeing that in books matters." Mm-hmm. And that's the other piece of this too, looking for non-binary. It matters. It also helps old people like me who need to see this, right? Because this helps us understand things that, were there, but not really there when we were, coming of age. I think it's helpful. There's helpfulness to it. I'm not saying they have to educate us. It just is helpful. I have Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. Sing Anyway by Anita Kelly. That one is really fun if you've never, it's kind of a reality singing competition show. And the cover's adorable.
Yeah, and Love and Other Disasters is like reality chef competition.
Well, Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander is another one that is a non-binary, and Seasons of Love by Helena Greer, also non-binary. Um, Trans rep. What you got?
Okay. I just actually reread it because I read it a few years ago. It is Stripped. It's the Forebears construction series by K.M. Newell. It is, oh, it is my favorite book in that series. It is this nerdy professor, and he wears tweed, and he knits costumes for his tortoise. And his boyfriend is Miller, and he's trans and works in construction and has amazing like ADHD rep as well.
Okay.
And it's sort of this like second chance. They went to camp together when they were little, and this nerdy professor is just so, and he's been hurt, and Miller just it's so well done. It's not, it was,
What's
I
the
love
title
them.
again?
Stripped. It's the Forebears
Oh, it's okay.
construction, and it's very funny. This book, I would say, is somewhat funny. Like, he loses his packer, like, and the packer falls out of his pants, and
Oh,
like,
you said pecker. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Her
no,
Minnesota.
yeah. Took me a second too.
Yeah.
it's not. It's called a packer, though.
It's called a packer?
I swear to God.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was your Minnesota accent.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Um,
It's so good, you
guys. Okay. I have what do you have, Jenni, for trans rep? Because it's sad to say, but my list is a little small. So if you have if you have some amazing trans rep romances, send them to us, message us, tag us in a post. We would really like to know.
I have Starting from Scratch by Jay Northcote. It's a little older. I want to say like 2017. And the main character is kind of like just to that point of like full transition and like learning how to navigate the world through that. So it's much more emotional.
Okay.
Very good.
So I have a Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. It's historical romance. Chef's Choice by TJ Alexander. And then two authors that have written queer romances and trans rep, that these are both historical that I have read from them. E. Ottoman and Kat Sebastian. But I've only read their historical. I believe Kat has some, I think it takes place in the 1980s, which, do you know if you write a book right now that takes place in the 1970s? You ready for this, Heather? It's considered historical.
What?
So if you write a 1970s romance, it's considered historical romance.
We're historical, Becky.
We are historical, legendary, and historical.
That sounds much better.
We are legendary. Ask our husbands; they're going to tell you.
Are there any other books that we missed in your list that you want to talk about before we go to the next thing? What do you want to talk about?
I have a bunch of Demi.
Okay. Go for it.
Two of my all-time favorite books. Well, actually three. I'm sorry. The first one is Meet Me in the Blue by A.M. Johnson. It was one of my top reads a couple years ago. It's a friends to lovers. And again, one of the main characters just never felt like himself. And it was definitely, once he started spending time, he realized like he was falling in love. And it was done so well. It was a friends to lovers. The next one is Sunday's Best by Riley Hart. He is a widow, and this guy they have some ties, and they fall in love, and it is so good. And Sean Krisden does the audio. so amazing.
Okay.
His voice is amazing. And then the last one is Fool Hearts by Emmy Sanders. It is a friends to lovers, and one of the main characters doesn't realize that he's demisexual because he just is sweet, kind of lost boy. So good.
That's so sweet. Okay. So that is our LGBTQIA recommendations. If you think that you have some recs that you think we should consider, make sure you send us an email because we would love to add them to our TBRs.
I do
Go
I
ahead.
do have a couple places I look for recs
Sure.
if I'm having trouble finding a rec in this area, and I don't that's what I want right then. Instagram page is Read My Lips in Boston. They do a great job of not only LGBTQIA, but disability reps, BIPOC reps. Like they cover the gamut, and they are also an indie bookstore in Boston. And then the Rainbow Roundtable is the American Library Association's LGBTQIA association, and they usually have it's going to be more pub books because they're library books, but they usually post books that are for consideration for like the Stonewall Award and other LGBTQIA awards. So if you go to their website, you can see what kind of like the newest books are in the area.
I will also say my Big Gay podcast. Those two guys that do that podcast always have great recommendation and author interviews also. And they focus on queer romances year round.
There's a couple TikTokers too.
Yeah.
That are really do a great job.
So, okay, we've got that. I think we filled your TBR for Pride Month. It's one of the squares on summer reading because summer reading is back this week. So, summer reading is back. But right now, it's time. It's time, you guys. It's that time for Book of the Week. It's Book of the Week time. Heather, what's your Book of the Week?
Rear-Ended by K.M. Newhold. It's in the Bull Mechanics series number 6. Very funny. These characters are a freaking riot. There's lots of talk about butt plugs. They fix a dent with a dildo. He has a pet pig. Yep, he has a pet pig. So good, so hilarious, and I am loving it. So
okay,
good.
Is
And
it male? Is it male?
And they're older.
Because I'm dying over the rear-ended. Like,
so am I. I'm like,
pun intended, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you saw the logo, it's like 2 nuts, and then like a wrench. So, I mean, Cam Newell has an amazing sense of humor. So it's very good. Kindle Unlimited, super fun. And they're older. They're in their like 40s, which I love.
Fun. Okay. Jenni, what's your book of the week?
Passing Notes by Nora Everly. It's Teacher's Lounge book number 1, Smarty Pants romance universe. He's a single dad, still co-parenting really well. And they are it's a second chance, but no one knows except for them. And he moves in next door.
Fun. Okay, so my book of the week is Everyone I Kissed Since You Got Famous by May Marvel. This book, so I got an audiobook through NetGalley. It's through Macmillan Audio. And I pretty much have ignored my family for the last day and a half as I have listened to this book. And it's missed opportunity. They grew up, they are the daughters of 2 best friends in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And that matters. It matters that it's Green Bay because it is very Midwest Green Bay, Wisconsin. They're the daughters of 2 best friends, and they grew up together. Were in high school together. But it's Hollywood Norm. One of the girls, Katie, after high school, she went to summer stock, and from summer stock, she went to Hollywood. And she had an affair with an older man, and that has caused some issues. And now she's come home. It's been several years since that happened, but she's now come home to Green Bay for a month because she's getting ready to start a really new big project. And I don't want to talk about that because that would spoil it. But the other heroine, her name is Will, and she started a project about a year ago as the book starts, because this happens at Christmas time. She started a project about a year ago when one of her roommates said that she was just really indifferent about romance. Like, she just didn't act like she cared. So she started this kissing project where she goes on TikTok twice a month and kisses a stranger or kisses somebody from her life. And she invites them into her home and they sit on a bench, and for 60 seconds, they kiss each other. And this is her whole TikTok thing. She just kisses people, and it really dives into the intimacy of a kiss, and that there can just be a kiss, but it's where you place your hands, or if you breathe on the neck, or where you touch, or how you move your hands through the hair. And it really, like, so this book, the intimacy of this book and this relationship between these two is so powerful. But the other piece of this is, so I thought Jesse in We're Made of Moments was a piner. He ain't got nothing on these two women. Like, they are a whole fucking forest of like thousands of acres of pine trees.
Oh.
These women have been pining for each other, but they didn't know they were pining for each other. I would absolutely say that this is they're both bisexual, probably pansexual representation. It never clearly states, but it is smart and it is funny. They're both late 20s, early 30s. Both have really great careers, but Will is dealing with like a genetic, the potential of a genetic disease that runs in her family and the ramifications of losing her father to that genetic disease. Anyway, there's so much in this book. The audiobook was fabulous, and I have ignored my family for a day and a half so that I could read this book. So, but it was good. It pops at 52%, and it was, I was like, oh, hello, sisters. Especially for Trad Pub. I'm like, okay. It's really intimate. That's the best word I can use. So if intimacy and connection really matters to you in your romance,
that's me.
Read this book.
I was like, it's going up the TBR.
Yeah, read this book.
June 11th, right?
June 11th. It's so good. Anyway, those are our book of the weeks. Patreon update. Welcome to new members, Aaron and Bonnie. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for joining our Patreon. Celebrating 1 year in the Hive is Elise. We are so grateful to have you. Thank you for supporting Buzzing About Romance. I want to talk about this real quick because I kind of dropped it a little bit on social media this week. So did you know that we have a free tier on Patreon? So we have a free tier. There is a free tier. You do get to see frequent announcements. We share details over there. We'll post reminders about shows when we're going live. And oftentimes I'll post things over there before they go to social media. Also, going forward, if you want to participate in one of our reading challenges or events and receive the participation sticker. So like we did Galentine's Day and I had a Galentine's Day sticker and everybody could just fill out the form and they could get the Galentine's Day sticker. Now, if you would like to get those stickers, so we have one coming up for summer reading. If you want to get the summer reading challenge sticker, you need to be a member of at least minimum the free tier on Patreon. So make sure if you aren't a member, you can go over there and join. You can ask for how many emails you want from us. Like you wouldn't get every update. And we still have tons of exclusive content for our paid members. But also within the free tier, if we're getting ready to do an event, like we're going to have our slumber party in July, like we did last summer, the call out for authors to participate will happen in that free tier on Patreon. You know, it'll happen for all the tiers, but that's where I'll put the call out. I will not be putting those to social media. So make sure you go over there and follow our Patreon, at minimum the free tier, but you really should just join it because we have some pretty cool stuff that we do. And one of the best things that we offer are our monthly swag packs. Swag packs will be headed out this week. I'm so excited to share our swag pack sponsor authors for June, our authors Tia Louise, and then multi-author series Fork to Table. It's a group of 5 authors that wrote some rom-coms together centered around a family in small town upstate New York. They sent some swag along. Swag packs go out to Fancy Drinks, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tier, and we still have fun buzzing about romance exclusive stickers, mood reading cards, and other fun things. These are mailed monthly around the 10th of the month, and we do ship these internationally. This perk, again, is mailed once monthly. If you join after the 10th of the month, your first swag pack will be mailed the following month. All members of Patreon get exclusive episodes along with perks like Buzzing Book Club. You can find a list of all our events at bookcaseandcoffee.com, including happy hours, IG lives, and book clubs. So that's all of that good stuff that we have. Thank you for joining us for this special Pride Month episode of Buzzing About Romance. We hope you enjoyed our celebration of LGBTQIA romances and the incredible love stories that reflect the diversity and beauty of the community. Remember, these stories deserve to be celebrated, not just this month, but all year around. As you dive into these amazing reads, keep in mind a few important points. Read queer all year, not just in June. It's not our place to out authors. Let's celebrate their work without making assumptions about their personal lives. Ensure be sure to feature a diverse list of authors because pride is not synonymous with whiteness. And remember, a bi romance can look like a hetero-norm relationship. We'd love to hear your thoughts and recommendations, so connect with us on social media or send us an email. Don't forget to subscribe to Buzzing About Romance for more episodes that celebrate love in all of its forms. Make sure you join us back here Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for our discussion of Lights, Camera, Passion by Isabel Lacerio, which, guys,
I know.
guys,
I think I told you all to read this because I got the arc and I was like, I
You
don't know what you're all
did.
doing with your life, but
You did.
do it. She can write a book.
the angst, she can write a book. I read her last summer because she had one called Splintered that was like a vacation fling between a porn star and a hockey player. It was super fucking sexy. Like,
that series, that was amazing. I love the multi-author series. That's the other.
Yeah.
This community, LGBTQIA plus, they do a lot of multi-author series that are top
yeah.
notch.
So anyway, come back Wednesday night for Lights, Camera, Passion. And then we're back next Sunday night with another Buzzing About Romance episode. I will tease that there are 2 fun authors joining me next week. It will be pure chaos, I promise. Anyway, until next time, everybody, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.